Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Today is Monday, September 4th. It's Labor Day in North America, and this is your weekly subscriber video. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed last week's subscriber video. You can see the results here on the screen. Worked out really well. I give myself an A for that. Pretty much exceeded the rate of increase of the yellow arrow here and closed the week right inside the green target box. The other thing that's interesting is that price cleared the 1x1 down from the July high. So this is a very positive move for the bulls, and it's also above the 1x1 up from the October low. Okay, so according to our very simple GAN-FAN rules, price is now in a bullish configuration, and we should have a long bias. Couple other things that are happening this week that give some momentum to the long side is we've got Venus finishing its retrograde cycle on September 6th. And also we have Mercury accelerating in the middle, starting to accelerate out of its retrograde cycle, also starting on September 6th. You can see that here in time trades when you go over and turn on the short-term waves. Mercury speed is the yellow line, and you can see that that's making a low here September 6th, and then it's going to start to increase again as it completes its retrograde cycle. Now, according to my work, a lot of this, a lot of the negativity around retrogrades is more related to speed and not just the retrograde, the fact that it's retrograde. And this is something I learned from Marsilio on Twitter. He's been very generous in sharing his astrology leadings and learnings, and he pointed me towards this geocentric speed aspect of interpreting retrograde cycles instead of just looking narrowly at retrogrades. So we've got Mercury accelerating starting September 6th. We also tend to have a repeating cluster of pivots in the machine learning from the week of September 6th to the 15th here. So if you that shows up in a lot of our symbols here, our major indexes. So let's turn off short-term waves. So NDX, similar. A cluster of pivots here that week of the 11th, and also starting on Friday the 8th. So we've got a cluster of pivots there. If we look at SPX, it's also similar, not quite the same, but similar. It starts a little earlier with SPX, starting September 6th, and there's another cluster of pivots over here the week afterwards, which I find interesting as well, and that's kind of unique to SPX. Also, if we go and look at helio and geocentric degrees of travel since major pivots. So if we go and take a look at the major pivot high on February 2 and the major pivot low on March 13th. These dates are the same across SPX and the NASDAQ, the QQQ. So if you count degrees of travel, both geocentric and heliocentric from there, we end up getting a cluster of aspects. So this is the spreadsheet that's generated by the machine learning engine on the back end that generates these probabilities. And we can see Venus here making a heliocentric conjunction with where it was on February 2nd earlier this year. So it's completed a heliocentric orbit. Mercury has advanced 45 degrees helio from where it was on March 13th. Mercury is opposite where it was on February 2nd. Mercury is also sextile or 60 degrees separated from where it was March 13th. Venus is sextile from where it was on March 13th. And Earth is opposite of where it was on March 13th, which makes sense, of course. That's about 6 months, almost exactly 6 months. And so those are the heliocentric aspects that are clustering around the 14th and 15th. And then we also have one geocentric aspect, which of course makes sense. It's the inverse of the sun. So geocentrically, the sun is opposite of where it was on March 13th, which is the inverse of Earth helio over here. Okay, so that's 7 separate aspects all firing around the 14th and 15th. And the last thing I want to show you as we update our forecast here is a bit of a tendency to make highs within a certain interval of or certain portion of the Venus interval. So let's turn this off. Let's turn off CAN fans, and we're going to take a look at Venus intervals here. And you can see what I mean by how Venus intervals, when you subdivide them, you tend to get highs in a specific area. So let's look at the Venus internal subdivisions law of vibration. There we go. So if we go all the way back to 2015, that's probably the best analog here, because 2015 is the last time we had Venus interval 1 around September. So let's go back to 2015, 09, 15. And you can see here that we had a move up that ended about halfway through the 0.333 and 0.5 subdivision of Venus interval 1. Okay. And then there was a move down into late September, followed by a move up to complete Venus interval 1. So this is kind of the best analog for, I think, where we are right now in stocks. So if we move ahead and take a look at where 0.333 and 0.5 is in Venus interval 1, this will give us a date range of between September 8th and September 20th. Okay. So when we update our forecast, I'm going to narrow that down a little bit. And I'm going to put our target box here between the 11th and the 15th, based on some of the machine learning probabilities that we've seen. We see a cluster of pivots in this area. So I'm anticipating this to be a pivot high based on where we are in the Venus intervals. And here's our updated path. So let's hope that this forecast is as successful as the last one. All right. So a couple other things I want to point out here. It's these things never go in a straight line, but with the help of some astrology, we can point out a few areas where we can expect some volatility. If we turn on the cheat code and Gann waves, then we can see exactly where some of that volatility is likely to happen. Just waiting for the time trade script to repaint here. There we go. That took a while. All right. So let's turn off Venus intervals. So this is a little bit more visible. Okay, so we can see we've got a Gann wave yellow coming up on September 7th. So that's a peak in lunar declination. And we can also see we've got a purple cheat code, which is a local high in lunar node speed. So both of those are happening kind of back to back on the 6th and 7th, along with Mercury starting to accelerate. So I do expect there to be a bit of volatility around here. The standard kind of behavior around a cheat code purple is a pump and dump. That's what happened last time on October 23rd. So be on the lookout for pump and dump type price action, with the high of the day being made very early on September 6th, and then a fallback later in the day. If that doesn't happen, that's fine. But that's one of the patterns that I've noticed with these cheat code purples. Okay, so there's our new forecast for stocks, and more importantly, I've described why I think that's the new forecast. So let's go and take a look at Bitcoin and some of the other symbols here. So we're going to go over to BTC and time trades. And we can see Bitcoin is showing a cluster of moves kind of starting around September 12th and peaking September 14th. Now, remember the definition of this. These are 5-day moves greater than 1.5 standard deviations. So if that's September 14th, then that is saying that the advance or move in any direction, I'm assuming it's going to be in an advance here, starts September 9th. Okay, so I'm still bullish on Bitcoin because it's tending to hold a lot of its GAN fans, and it does have this big cluster of moves coming up. So I'm looking for a low September 8th and 9th, and then hopefully we get another big move coming up that'll complete this week. Bitcoin, of course, also follows stocks in terms of a lot of the flows and trends and risk on, risk off behavior. So a lot of the analysis that I've done already on stocks also applies to crypto. Okay, so Bitcoin, look for buys around September 8th and September 9th. Let's take another look at gold here. So with gold, we're tracking along because we know that gold likes Venus interval 1s, and we see an increasing probability of moves, but we also see a pivot peaking here September 20th. Okay, so that's also kind of roughly in the general vicinity of that pivot. So I'm assuming that this recent trend up is going to continue, and we may even see an acceleration of that going forward, with a potential for a pivot September 20th. Okay, so gold looks to be on track here. Let's take a look at the dollar, because that is pretty key for a lot of these symbols. So the dollar, we see a tendency to make tops in this area price wise. March it made a top, May it made a top, and here we are in late August, looks like a top as well. And if this move down does indeed get traction, if we take out this low in the 103 area, then the next chance for a pivot looks like it's going to be around September 19th, September 20th as well. So that's something to watch on the dollar, because of course that controls flows across many asset classes, gold, stocks, and crypto. All right, so let's complete the call with a quick look at the Nifty. We didn't have time to take a look at that last week. So here's the Nifty. A lot of the logic and what I shared already on North American stocks also applies to the Nifty, of course. We see what looks like a new trend starting here that started up last week, Thursday, Friday last week. We've got a continuation of that trend with probabilities of moves continuing, and then we have a pivot around September 20th. So we've got that peak pivot there, September 20th. Again, I would be looking for a long to continue moving up until then. Now, one thing I do want to caution, even though a lot of this analysis has been very, very bullish, remember we are in Venus interval 1. This is not a time to swing for the fences. We need to be cautious bulls on this and protect our gains, because I do think we're going to get another swing down before Venus interval 1 completes. And then when Venus interval 2 arrives, that's the time where we can really sort of trade with the trend and just dollar cost average in on dips and confidently buy on dips. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this update, and I hope you're enjoying the long weekend here in North America. Take care this week, trade safe, manage risk, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks. Bye now.